The sport of off-road racing is full of incredible stories, wild characters, legends, and even villains. We cover it all on offroadracer.com, but there's only so much we can put down in an article. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, and that means sitting down with some of our industry's most influential characters and hitting record. Welcome to the Off-Road Racer podcast, a Mad Media production, made exclusively for offroadracer.com. Each month, we'll go beyond the dirt into the homes, shops, and lives of the most interesting and game-changing icons of our sport. You'll hear about their history, success, failure, and everything in between as we pull back the curtain and reveal the stories of their lives. I'm your host, Matt Martelli, and this is the Off-Road Racer podcast. I'm Matt Martelli. This is Off-Road Racer, and I'm here with my brother from down under, Brett Comiskey. What's up, man? How you doing?
Awesome to be back.
Yeah,
Just happened to tie both things together, a bit of work and a bit of play, and any chance to come and join the series and meet up with all my off-road family again is high on my agenda for sure. So good to be back. Good to be back.
So obviously Australia does have quite a bit of off-roading, but like, how did you end up racing?
Look, I've raced motocross for about 18 years and then took over the family business. So, motocross fell by the wayside. I raced trikes for a bit, quads, when the trikes got banned here in 87, I think. I raced quads, Odysseys, and then pretty well the family business took over. And I virtually had about a 10-year gap, then got back into bikes. And then I went and helped one of my friends move house, and he had a brand new RZR 800S. And he took me down the side of a mountain on this thing, and the next weekend I bought one.
Nice.
I was stoked. But the thing back then, there was no races.
Right.
And then we tried to form some groups to let us on other tracks. The first year I raced in Australia, there was 3 cars. That was it. So you either finished first, second, or third.
Right.
Year 2, there were 6 of us. Year 3, there was 18 of us. And then I started travelling over here with work, and then I started going to the Mint 400 was my first off-road race in 2013, just watching. So I watched in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, and then I more or less said, well, I'm sick of watching, I've got to be a part of this. And I'd been racing short course in Australia only, not long course. So actually my long course career actually took off here.
Right.
So I bought a car off Lone Star, off Dan Fisher. Bought his first prototype 4-seater, raced it at the UTV Worlds in 2017 with your group, got landed on. Welcome to America.
Right. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes. So, look, we were super scared, like huge field of cars.
Yeah.
Massive.
And land rush start, right?
Land rush start. Never done that before.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah.
Panic stations. I had an Aussie guy as a navigator. Never been to America. We took off. We thought we were doing all right. I think on about lap 2, we're going through some S-bends up the back of the track there, and then all of a sudden, mighty bang. And we just see this car flying off on the other side of it. And it's like, where did he come from? He had virtually missed the corner and went straight over the jump and then upside down in the air. And
which wasn't a jump. It was like a hill.
It was a hill that he'd gone straight over. The dust was blinding. You couldn't see. He
just dukes a hazard.
Dukes a hazard right on top of me. It was virtually roof to roof.
Yeah.
And then he went off the side. And it wasn't until about a year later we met a guy in the pits when we started racing full time here that he actually showed me some footage.
Right.
And it was scary shit.
Yeah.
So the car was badly damaged. We had a few bruises. The navigator shit himself and wanted to get out, but Lone Star had no one to navigate with me, so he had to keep going. And then eventually he spewed in the car. He was sick, just freaked him out. It got rough. It always got rough at Laughlin. 10 laps of that track.
That course I hate that course because of how bad it deteriorates.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's my favourite track in America.
Yeah.
It just got beat up, and as it got more beat up, that's what I love. That's off road, not this carpet shit. I don't do that. So yeah, look, that was my introduction to America, and we virtually went home. We left the car at Lone Star, and it wasn't until I went to Canada in August, which just coincides with V2R, that I was in Canada for a month for work, and then I just put an ad on Facebook. Does anyone want to do Vegas to Reno with us? We've got a car, but we have no crew. So we had so many people come forward to want to join us. So a few of them were a bit dodgy. We sieved through the people and got some good people involved, which now Jared is my navigator from Kansas. And then Chris Radden, who's from LA, who preps the car. We met those guys for the first time. So these are complete strangers to us. And now they're my long-lost brothers. Like, they're my good friends. I've known them since 2017. They'd do anything for you. So, and Chris is actually coming to the Don River Dash in September next month in Australia. So that's his first trip over there. So that's how all that eventuated. And we did Vegas to Reno first time, 8 flat tyres, 4 axles, way outside the scope of how many hours it took, but we finished.
Right.
And we did really good. So we thought, shit. And then someone said, we should do Baja. I've never been to Mexico. Right, let's give it a go. And then same thing again. People came forward with us, wanted to help us. So we took Dan and I from Australia, and then we got the guys from here, and off we went to Mexico. And he'd actually never, the guy that was with us, Sean, he'd never actually finished the race before.
Right.
So we actually finished. And when we got to Mexico, he had no accommodation booked for us.
Oh, bad.
So lucky enough, I'd built up a good friendship with Chris Worth from KWI Clutches.
Yeah.
And he said, dude, we're that far back. You go and stay at our house. You use the rooms in the shower, and then when we finish, we'll come kick you out of the bed.
Yeah.
So that's how we met Chris and all them guys, and through KWI, because I was using their clutches. I'd been using Lone Star. The first actual ever company to help me out was Johnny Angle.
Yeah.
Those guys were the only ones that would send parts to Australia.
Yeah.
So I've known Johnny since 2012.
He's a rad dude.
Mate, he's helped me out so much.
He's helped out a lot of people.
Yes, and he helped me out heaps. So my first trip, I would always go straight to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Because there's one of the bigger cat dealers in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I combined work with going to see Johnny. So
yeah,
we did Baja. We finished. I went back to Australia just absolutely ecstatic with what I just achieved with everyone. And I said to my wife, right, I'm going back next year. I'm going to race the season. I'm going to do Parker first. If I do good at Parker, I'm going to do the championship. If not, I'm going to sell the car and go back and just race in Australia, because obviously I'm not good enough to race here. This is such a high level here.
Sure.
We went to Parker for the first time, never been there before. Led the race in the first couple of laps and ended up getting a flat and finishing second. And another team in Australia rang me up. They wanted me to join their team in Australia, and he rang me up and he goes, I don't think you're coming back, are you? And I went, never. This is it. I found my home. And that's how I started here. So in 2018, we got through the whole year and won the championship.
Yep.
We won the UTV Worlds at Laughlin, which was a big thing for us in the unlimited class. So we had a stellar of a year. And then I was racing short course at home, and I finished second in the Australian Championships in short course. So that helped me as well with the short course. It teaches you some bad habits because you need to run at 100%, where the desert's more 75, 80%.
Right.
So different driving styles. So doing the both, man, I was doing like 15, 16 races a year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I was never home. I started neglecting my job. Look, we did all of 218 here. We did Baja in 218, which we got our best result. We finished 4th in our class. We were up to 2nd, but usual defects and breakdowns. So we got 4th, which was, I think, the highest finisher for an Aussie.
Right.
So we thought we did pretty well. We come back in 219. We changed teams here. We went away from Lone Star and went with another team, and then we just started deteriorating. I think we were just trying to do too much. I did 35 trips over here in 2.5 years. So I think it was too much.
Sure.
We should have been coming over doing some more testing instead of just turning up at the racetrack.
Yeah.
So we sort of let ourselves down there, and we were disappointed with where we were finishing. We did manage to win the Mint 400.
Yep.
We picked up another UTV Worlds. I tried to do the double, and we broke in the second car because we had 2 of them. We didn't do any good in the championship. That was about our stellar year. We went to Baja again, and Dan was in the car, and it broke after about 132 mile or something like that. So we went home. We were a bit disappointed. So and then COVID set in.
Yeah, which sucked.
It did. It disappointed. Like we probably spent nearly $2 million here on equipment, with chase trucks, trailers, tooling. Virtually I'd leave Australia with a briefcase.
Yeah.
All my clothes were here, tools, race cars. Even have a bank account here in America.
Right.
So that was a big letdown for me. So in the interim, I'd bought a Jimco, Class 1 car in Australia off one of the main guys that were winning over there. So we virtually went back, and people that are going to races in Australia, they didn't even know who I was.
Right.
Because I'd never raced in the long course, the off-road series. Sure. I'd only raced short course.
But there's how many races over there for long course are there?
There's heaps now, mate.
Oh, is there?
It is very good now. You could virtually race twice a month if you wanted to.
Cool.
It's in the last 5 or 6 years, it's picked up. Like last year, we did the CAM series, Motorsport Australia series in the trophy truck, which we won. We won the extreme two-wheel drive class, and we finished third outright in the championship. So that was a really good season for us.
Nice.
That's what we wanted to do. We weren't travelling over here. That's what we concentrated on, and we managed to win it. So that was really good in our first year.
Yeah.
Next year, we're going to switch to the ARB series, which is just a different group.
Yeah.
Different tracks. And that's what I like, doing different tracks. So we went back to Australia, and we met people we didn't even know in our own home country.
Right.
And we started, and they were like, "Who is this guy?"
Right.
And then we started telling what we did and all that stuff. So we had a lot of interest, and then we've.
I bet they're like, "Wait, you won the UTV World Championship?
Yes.
You podiumed at the Ball 1000?
Yes.
Like they're like, who the hell is this guy?"
So we started getting a huge following.
Yeah.
So we made a lot of friends quickly in Australia as well. So
I think when people see, somebody from their home country, their hometown have success, then they're like, hey, we can do this too.
Yes.
And Australia has always been really interesting to me because obviously, you guys have vast desert regions, but you have very strict land laws there, right?
That's
so
the
it's
problem.
a little bit of a dance.
That's the problem. We got nowhere to test.
Right.
So in my hometown, I ended up buying a 300-acre farm, just pure and simply to build a track on it. And when I was racing the UTVs short course and over here, I'd virtually finish work at 5 o'clock and straight down to the farm, and I'd drive that car until it was dark.
Right.
Do 30, 40 laps on the track. And I'd be doing that every day. I virtually had a test Can-Am at that point and then a race Can-Am. So that was the only way to get quick.
Racing against your dad is something that 90% of the racers in the world will never get.
I've accomplished everything I wanted to do, and now he's just like taking the reins. I want to be remembered for being a huge part of short course, not just racing, keeping it alive, helping it grow. If it comes down to the last weekend and I'm in it, the boys better watch out.
Yeah.
And when you come over here up against R.J. Anderson, Mitch Guthrie, and Brendan Sims, holy shit, you know?
Well,
wow, they're next level, them guys. And
the thing to remember though too is like those guys, they're the first wave of the youth generation of they started at 6 years old.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like I was telling the story earlier of, I went over to Saudi for Dakar, and we were standing at the end of one of the stages, and Cyril Dupre and all the OG heavies of Dakar are standing there, and Cyril's like, I don't understand why are these kids so fast? And I'm like, let me tell you, we get a lot of them. We get a lot of them coming. So to be able to hang with those, those kids, and they're not kids anymore. They're in their early 20s. That's a lot.
Well, it's something what I like what you guys have done with the youth classes and all that. That's what we don't have in Australia. And that's probably wrong. In the last year, they've brought in the youth class.
Yeah.
Which I've been trying to promote.
Yeah.
It's, I've started late. Like I was like 45 when I started racing.
Sure. Which is typical of the tradition of off-road racing is usually it's, you get to a point in life where you're successful in business and you have a couple of bucks, and now you're like, hey, I want to go have some fun.
Yeah,
right?
Well, that's what I wanted to do. And the UTVs, a lot of people put a lot down on UTVs, but the thing is, UTVs have brought me to the sport.
Yeah.
They brought a lot of people to the sport.
Oh,
they brought Mitch, Brendan, R.J. Anderson, all them guys to the sport. Mitch Guthrie, Phil Blurton.
Yeah.
You know, those sorts of guys. They will eventually, they'll either stay where they are because they're comfortable where they are, or they will move up into the next class.
Yeah.
So you've got a whole group of off-roaders, and that's what we're finding in Australia now. The group that I've grown up with now have all gone and got pro buggies. They've got trophy trucks. So this is what's making Australian off-road thrive.
Yeah.
You got all these old guys, 65, 75, driving these old grasshoppers and Jimcos and stuff. But now you've got such a land rush of kids. Like the UTV class in Australia is the biggest class.
Yeah.
And as much as they get shit put on them, like they're just filling gaps in the series, they're bringing the next generation.
Yeah.
Well, look at me. I've gone out of a UTV. I went to a Jimco, and now I've gone to 6100 truck. Now I'm in a full-blown trophy truck.
Right.
I would have never done a trophy truck if I didn't have experience through UTVs.
Yeah.
You could not drive one of these trophy trucks without prior experience.
No, it's like giving somebody an F-16, you know?
Virtually. Yeah. Like sitting in a top fueler is what they are.
Yeah.
Like I got in the first 6100 and it just blew me away. Just like the obsession. So much fun. They are so much fun.
It's like, you know, it's funny because like we talk about it and it'd be interesting to hear your perspective because in your country, you can't do what we do here in our deserts, right?
No.
And even here, like we do, you know, we do what we do. It's all great, but then, you know, I'm in California, so I'm next to Baja, and I'm like, oh, let's just go to Baja and do that because we can be more free, right?
Yeah.
And but it's interesting because, you know, racing in 6100 and trophy truck, there's a point where you're like, I can't believe this is legal, right? This is so much fun that you're just like, you know, number one, you know, I hope and I don't think it's going to ever go away, but it's just like this high and this grin, this happiness that you get because it's, you know, the capabilities of the vehicle, you know, and two, really a big part of it is being in nature. You know, we're out in the beautiful, you know, here in the Mojave Desert, you know, and in Baja, you know, in different deserts of America and really all over the world. And it's just places that nobody goes and they're just spectacularly beautiful.
Yep. Yeah, that's one thing where we did Baja the first time and Dan and I were in the car and we'd come across this big clay pan and we were up against a mountain range.
Yeah.
And the sun was hitting it.
Yeah.
And we were doing about 72 mile an hour across the clay pan and we were looking at it going, how cool is this? Look where we are, Dan.
Yeah.
You know, we're two Australian guys and we're racing the Baja 1000. You know, how good is this? And then next thing we just got fried by a trophy truck. And instead, this clay pan's probably 2 mile wide.
Yeah.
He's passed us out the window.
Yeah. Yep.
Completely dusted us out.
Yeah.
There goes the moment, you know, bloody trophy trucks, you know. So, but the landscape we see, it's even when you go to Fink every time in the middle of our desert.
Yeah.
You come to a point through the sand and all that, and you get out in the open hill range, and you actually stay and you go, wow, look where I am.
Yeah.
Look what I'm getting to do.
I'm going to come next year. It's one of those ones that sneaks up on me because it's close to the 500.
It always has been.
But you know, like, that's the thing is, like, you know, I really, I think it's important to get out of our little circles, right?
Yes.
And the Fink, you know, obviously its reputation precedes itself, but I think it's really important, you know, to go to other countries and meet other off-roaders and see how they're doing things and also, you know, invite them, you know, because we want, you know, it was funny because I went to Dakar and at one point, you know, the FI guys are like, why are you here? And I'm like, I'm here to invite all your racers to come race with me.
Yes.
And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. Like, and vice versa. I want our racers to come race with you and have that experience. So, no, I'm definitely coming to Fink this next year.
I was lucky enough when RJ and Sarah Price come to Australia and race the side-by-sides. Like, to race my idols like them guys and to race Sarah, who's very competitive in the side-by-side. She beat me and, like, you know, bloody chick beat me. You know, this is not on.
But she's a savage, dude.
Yes.
Like most people don't know of her motocross history.
Yes.
And in motocross, when you race at a certain level, the mentality, you know, the mental fortitude that you have because of how physically demanding it is, like when you can apply that to other things, like I worked a lot with Ricky Johnson as he was starting his new career in short course racing. And dude, it was so much fun because the guy was a killer, and all I had to do is like poke him a little bit and kind of get him spooled up.
Yeah.
And once we learned each other's dynamics, it was like, I'd get him spooled up before these races, and he would just go out there and kill everybody.
Yeah.
And people were standing there going like, what happened to the warm-up laps? It was like, there are no warm-up laps. We already did those.
Yeah.
We're on kill mode from the drop of the flag to the drop of the flag, So no, she's a badass.
Yeah.
So Mitch, why is this bike so drippy?
It's our 23 race bike. We can start up front, work our way to the back. Bones can tell you about the suspension.
The rear shock is one of the most critical parts of the bike.
Pegs with the titanium mounts.
Kashima coating here.
Anti-gravity lightweight battery.
Young's modulus.
Horse and a half.
Works chassis lab.
More tie than a space shuttle.
Really? I might need that repeated.
This thing slaps.
Slaps.
Oh, you should have told me that earlier.
So look, they enjoyed coming to the country because Joey D come over as well, and I'd met him here in 2017.
Right.
So he knew me at the Worlds.
Yeah.
So he went. So he remembered me, which was good.
Well,
so,
you are impressionable, right?
Yeah, I try to be. Yes. Look, and we all went out for dinner that night, and Toby Price had come down. He just had his leg operation.
Right.
So he wasn't driving, so he came down and watched, and it was just a good little group,
Yeah.
and catching up with RJ. And then when RJ joined Adam Lund's team and they were sharing that pro buggy,
Yeah.
those two are wild boys together. So they're pretty well attracted to me, which is not good. So, yes, it's good knowing them guys.
Yeah.
I would like to team up with someone of that caliber.
Sure.
More to learn.
Yeah.
And get feedback for the car. Like, I've only learnt from myself.
Yeah.
I've had a few people drive with me, like Dan's driven with me. Now Chris is going to do a bit tomorrow for me just to give us a break because I want to try and do the whole race, but I don't think I'm going to be capable. I'm not the fittest person in the world, so I'm going to be realistic about that.
Well, that's smart because this race is tricky because it's pretty smooth, right?
Yes.
But what a lot of people forget is like it's very fast. So then what you kind of give up with not having as much rough is you're at the top of the, speedo, right?
Yes.
You're going fast. So when you do make a mistake,
Yes. It's going to hurt.
It's a bad mistake.
Yes.
Like we've seen some big crashes from people who are very seasoned, and I think a lot of it is physical, mental fatigue, you know?
Well, this will be my fifth time.
Yeah.
The first time I couldn't believe it. I think the second corner we went around, there was a car rolled.
Oh.
And I'm like, what's the go with these people?
Right.
This is a 500-mile race.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you thinking?
Yeah.
And this is where I sort of became a bit of an expert at longevity in long races.
Sure.
You got to get to the end.
Yep.
Once you finish, then you will win.
Yeah.
A blood rush in the second corner and you roll your car.
Well, I think
that's not on.
I agree, but I think that it's really difficult to control that because, you get to the race, the start of the race, your adrenaline's going, people are firing up the cars, you got officials yelling at you.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, and so then you got to think about like, okay, I got to go, but I got to go clean. Yep. And especially races like this where you have very straight start. So it's, hammered down and then there's some tricky stuff right off the start.
Yeah. So look, that's probably what I've learnt over doing your long races over here is just take your time a bit. I'm not the fastest person on the track, but I'll get to the other end.
Right.
And towards the end, then we'll start making our moves. Even in Australia, I struggle. Our races are nowhere near as long as you.
Right.
Day one of our racing, I'm 15th or 16th, but I can guarantee you on Sunday I'm first, second, or third. And that's how I work. It's just what I've learnt from being over here. You don't win in the first 100 miles.
No, but you can definitely lose.
You can definitely lose.
Yeah.
And the distance we travel in Australia to a racetrack, like to go to Perth is a 5-hour trip, 5-day trip for Dan just to get the transporter there.
Right.
Fair enough, I can fly over there in 6 hours, but we've still got to get everything there to race.
Right.
And I'm not going to go there and wreck all that, what we put in and the money to bin the car in the first 10 minutes.
Right.
So I've sort of learned, and because I own a business, I know what everything costs.
Sure.
And I bring that into it as well. So I don't sort of do the rush thing. But yes, in a race like tomorrow, you still have got to set a good pace from the start, or otherwise you'll get swamped from behind, because we've got some serious talent behind us as well, and not only in front. But yeah, we just play it. But yeah, I don't get excited at the start. That's not me. If you want to see me go from 5th to 1st in the first half hour, you're not going to see that from me.
But
I like to get into a good rhythm.
Yeah.
And then I get comfortable with the car. I get comfortable with the suspension settings, and then I start pushing it.
Well, tell us about, I mean, you have a new truck. Tell us about this new truck and why you chose this platform.
I think it's from, we have a lot of people give us a bit of grief over the way we went, but because I started my career in a UTV, which is four-wheel drive, and when you start learning to drive a four-wheel drive with your corner speeds, your exit speed, which gets you quicker down the straight, when you go to a Jimco buggy and a two-wheel drive 6100 truck, you lose all that. So when we chose to do a four-wheel drive truck, and we were lucky enough to pick one of Dale's trucks up at Racer Engineering, they're like getting into a big UTV. And like when I was talking to a few guys today out in the car park, you could get out of your UTV, and like Dustin Jones, which I just talked to only a half hour ago, Dustin could get out of his UTV and get straight in an all-wheel drive trophy truck, and guarantee you he'd be quick, because they're the same, the corner speeds and all that. The corner entry, the way you bring into a corner. Yeah, fair enough, you're carrying a lot more weight, but then you've got the brakes and the suspension to handle that. It's what we got used to driving UTVs.
Sure.
And then when you lose that, you got no idea how much you appreciate that front diff in a Can-Am or a Polaris.
100%.
And that's what I lost. So for me to get back in the Racer Engineering truck, it's just overgrown UTV. And that's why I've gelled with it so quickly. And we had one in Australia, which we got rid of when all the COVID shit was going on, because I didn't know what business was going to happen. And then since we've just got our new Brenthal all-wheel drive truck through Jonathan and those guys. So we flew it back out. We flew it home 2 weeks ago. We just did a race with it on the weekend, but it's got some teething problems. We only did a short test of like an hour and a half out on a flat track, and we had a bearing failure. So we're learning with that one, but it's all paddle shift, man. And you get in that thing, that's like a Formula One on dirt.
Yeah.
So I've gone to the next level. You know, X-Track gearbox, top of the range, King shocks. We got best of everything on the car. So it was a joy to drive last weekend. So unfortunately, we didn't do both days. We only did one. So to come over here on Tuesday, jump in the Racer Engineering truck, you're straight up to speed. And that showed yesterday, where I got into the car that I've only driven once at the Mint 400. I did 3 laps. Chris did one. Dan did one for me to give me a break. You're on speed. We blew 2 corners, but the good thing with the four-wheel drives, they pull you straight back into line and you're back in business real quick. Whereas a two-wheel drive, you sit in the silt, you get spinning before you get traction. So, yeah, I'm happy with where I'm going with my racing.
Well, you should be. You just qualified 5th at the Vegas Reno. That's the deep end of the pool.
Oh, man, look, I was thinking, back 15, 16, somewhere around there. I'm racing with some pretty talented guys.
Yeah.
And then when I went home last night and had a shower and opened up Facebook and looked at Ryan's post, he goes, I was surprised with first place. And then he had posted the order that we'd finished, and I seen my name in 5th, and it was like, wow, this is pretty cool. So that was a big thing for me last night. I had drama sleeping last night. Everyone was ringing me from Australia going, dude, where did that come from? You're not the fastest person on the track, So, yeah, I was very overwhelmed with that. And it was good to gel with the car. And racing last weekend definitely helped.
Yeah.
Coming over here in March to do the Mint was not so good. Brand new car, never been in it. Went out to Apex for like half an hour, and then we were straight on your racetrack at the Mint.
Yeah, which is unforgiving, what I mean?
Yeah, that's a brutal track.
Yeah.
So to do this, and I've raced this track.
Yeah.
And we're in a good spot. We're in good speed with people, and if we can keep in that and keep in their ranges for the first 150, 200 mile, we can see where we sit. Look, if we're out of whack and we're out of talent, we shouldn't be where we are. We fluke practice. Well, we'll go back to where we find our spot.
Sure.
And that's fair enough. We're still learning. We're not the kings on the block.
Right.
I've come here to learn, and I want to get better at it. So we got the best of everything.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see where we go in the first 150, 200 mile. and then I'll pick my place where I deserve to be on the podium, or I deserve to be 5th, 6th, or 10th, or wherever.
Sure.
And that's how I take my races.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
It's how I am on the day.
Yeah.
You are never any better than what you are on that day. So, look, if I drive bad and have dramas and I'm 10th, I'm happy with that. If I got my skill levels up and I'm good, I'll get a rush of blood if I see Ryan's lights up in front of me. That's for sure. I'll let him know I'm here. So,
all right, Chase, number 23. It's 2023. This championship's yours. Let's show these guys what's up.
Easy, boys. It's not over yet. Big dog still gotta eat.
Whatever you say, big dog.
Seriously? These fools think I'm pride? They know the deal.
look, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I'm super excited. It's good to be back in the US. It's good to be back to walk out in the car park and you shake hands with so many friends that, you know, I've been racing here since 2017. I've been coming over here since 2013. I've made a lot of friends in this country.
Yeah.
And that's what I've enjoyed about it. Off-road racing is a family, and that's what I like about it. Like, I've been in a lot of other racing types, but there's just not that family, not that camaraderie. You know, the next pit will help you, give you a part or something like that, or a wheel or a tire or something. So that's what I love about it, is friendship.
Yeah, I agree. But I also think, like, it's this camaraderie between, you know, styles and countries. And then also I can say, like, when you guys win, you know what I mean? Like, you're partying, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
we do.
You're making sure it's not, that's one thing I don't like about, especially the younger guys. Like, they're trying to be too cool, and they're not letting loose, right? They're you know, they're like, hey, yeah, I was really cool. I'm like, dude, you just won whatever the race is. Like, you know, you can swear now. You know what I mean? Like, you can spray some champagne and some beer and go party with your friends, and it's a big deal. You know,
it is.
So I think that, you know, when I saw you, I remember UTV Worlds, and, like, you guys were on top of your car. You know, you were walloping, and I'm like, I didn't even know who you were, but I'm like, I already like this guy, right?
No, man, this is a big thing for us.
Yeah,
we're in a host country.
Yeah,
this is not our country.
Yeah,
and here I am here ripping your dirt up.
Yeah,
but
it's a big thing for us too. I mean, this is a very, very difficult form of racing to be successful at.
It is. And
you got to want to take damage, you know, mentally, you know, your ego, you know, your wallet, you know, everything. And it just shows, like, when you do get a win, how much people appreciate it.
Oh, look, when I won the UTV Worlds, I went back to the motel at Laughlin, and I reckon I was on the phone for 6 hours. I'd put the phone down. I'd have to actually go and find a charger to charge my phone up.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't believe the people that were watching us, watching all your coverage and all that sort of thing. It was incredible. It was a good feeling. And when we went back on the plane on Virgin, we were in business class, of course. We travel in style.
You're right.
There was a bar on the plane.
Yeah.
And we were talking to the hostesses, and we were telling them what we'd just done.
Yeah.
Where's the trophy?
Yeah.
So we got the trophy out of the locker, and we had it on the bar on the Virgin plane. And then the next thing the captain says, look what we're doing. We're bringing a world champion back to Australia. How good's this?
Right.
And it was very overwhelming. So I've had a lot of success here, and it's been good. And you got to celebrate your victories.
100%.
You got to show that. And that's why I like Sims, Brendan, you know, Mitch, and those guys. They like to have a good time. RJ's at the top of the pile for me.
Yeah.
I've got on really well with RJ.
Yeah.
And his crew, and Ronnie.
Yep.
So they're really, they don't mind having a party, and that's who we levitate to.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you put so much blood, sweat, and tears into this, and money.
Yes.
This ain't a cheap sport.
No.
I could quite easily do a lot more in Australia with my money than coming here, and with the exchange rates and stuff. So it cost me nearly double to race here. And to go out and party after we finish, like the Mints and the Laughlins and all that sort of thing, mate, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why do it?
Yeah, it's funny because I was, you know, I'm always pitching companies to come in to the sport, right? And I was up recently meeting with a beer company, and, you know, I explained to them the history of off-road racing, and that you know, back in the day it was Takati, right? They were involved, and then when Heineken bought them, Heineken basically forbid them to be involved in off-road racing because they're like, there's only one type of racing. It is Formula One, Formula Un, right?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys who actually work at the Ducati factory in Ducati, and they're racers and race fans. Like, you go into that factory and there's off-road race paraphernalia plastered everywhere, yet they're not allowed to sponsor any races, right? It kills them. So I'm pitching this beer company, and I'm telling this guy, I said, you know what the best beer you'll ever have in your life is after you finish an off-road race and somebody hands you a cold one.
Yep.
And it's just like, it means so much, right? Because you've gone through so much to get to that finish line.
You know what was so good at the Mint 400?
Yeah.
That bloody hamburger I got when we finished.
Well, that was
Man, we were starving.
Yeah, that was the thing is, like, we started first with the beers, and then the guys are like, do you have any food? And I'm like, yeah, actually, we should have some food. And then I remember this finish line that I was at in Baja, and we were in a corral, and I was starving, right? And like, somebody handed me Ducatis, so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm 2 or 3 Ducatis in, and I could see the guy making tacos. I could smell the tacos, but I couldn't get to the tacos, right? And the process is really slow. You're there for like an hour, 2 hours, whatever, right? And finally, like, I flagged some fan down. I'm like, will you go get me tacos? So they're like, yes, right? And I pulled some money out and got my tacos after 2 hours. So we did tacos at the California 300 because that's the old school Del Taco.
Yes,
and then
we go there all the time.
Yeah, then hamburgers because it's American, and because that's that's Justin Lofton's company, Beef, right? It's really good company. If you guys,
Well, we talked to Justin at the Mint about it because that's what my dad does. He's got Comiskey beef.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then so I said, Justin, if you want to go over there at any time and go and hang out with Dad because what they do to raise their beef. And so, he said, look, take you up on that. So it was good to catch up with him. And he said, I wanted to be involved in the racing with the burgers and all that thing. So to get that one at the end of the Mint after we'd just been beat the shit out of,
tastes good.
I wasn't really looking for a beer.
Yeah,
I was hungry, man.
Yeah,
you get a workup.
Yeah,
and it was good to sit in the car and chow down on one of his hamburgers. So I sent him a text after that, and I went, man, that was good. I needed that. Then I had a beer.
Yeah, there you go.
Then I had a beer.
No, it's cool. I mean, it's one of these things where it's like, I race. I've raced in the past. I'm going to continue to race. And so I look at it from that perspective, like, how can we make this better and more fun? And that's, beers at the finish line. That's one of them.
Yeah.
And then, food at the finish line for the racers, don't torture them, don't do this thing where, like, between that and like drivers meetings, like being stuck in 2-hour drivers meetings where you're like, dude, we got it. Just let us go to sleep. We got a race tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we try and think about all that stuff.
Yeah, Australia's having a bit of a hard time with that at the moment. Their tech beforehand is a bit dragged out.
Yeah.
I like your style. If someone's not sure about it, pull them aside. The first time I did the Worlds, it was you're not familiar with how the process works. We'll pull you aside and we'll have a talk to you by yourself.
Yeah, no, totally.
Because we were very scared about what to do here.
Yeah.
This was our first one, so it was good like that. But Australia needs a bit of a lesson in that.
Yeah, and we're planning on doing more kind of rookie lessons because we want people to get up to speed and have a good time racing.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's bringing, I've brought some new people into it, like some friends that have now joined and got Can-Ams, and my business partner's young fellow is just cleaning up in the UTVs. Dan and I built him a car in Australia, and he's starting to win. So next year I want to bring him over. He's a 17-year-old.
Nice
Kid. So I want to bring him over here next year. So I'm going to try and get him a drive in a Can-Am next year. We've just bought him a Jimco. So he's going to shift up to the bigger class next year once we sort him out. But then there's a couple other my friends that are very quick in Can-Ams, and the only way you're going to find out how quick you are is come here.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I nearly got one of them a drive at the Baja this year, but that fell through, so only a first go.
Yeah.
But you need to come here and experience what I've experienced, because I think my life would have been pretty empty without coming here. I'd pretty well reached what I wanted to with the short course racing in Australia. So to come here and do what I've done and meet people and race, and now I'm in a trophy truck, where I looked up to, Rick Johnson and, you know, McCachran and all them guys and Menzies and all them guys, man. And now you're lined up against them.
Yeah.
That's very overwhelming.
It's pretty rad.
It is. And then to meet Rick Johnson in the pits there today, and I just said I wanted to try and get Toby Price to race with me in this race, but he had obligations with the next race for the Dakar Series.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'll jump in with you.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Like, he's been my life hero. Like, I've watched him since I first got on mini bikes.
He's a badass, and like
he can drive.
Yeah, he can drive, but he's also a fantastic, probably the best teacher in off-road I've ever seen.
Well, that's what I need.
Yeah.
I'm virtually teaching myself.
Yeah.
I've not had teaching. I've got off the motocross bikes, you know, gone and ran a business and came back into this, and virtually what I've learned off myself.
Yeah.
And then when you come over here and you're racing against Sims and all them guys, man, we got to step it up.
Yeah.
So to talk to him today in the pits was very good. He was very good of an open because he knows Toby and all them, you know.
Yeah.
He said, man, I'll get in the car with you. I need someone to get in the car with me and make sure that my car is right.
He's definitely the guy.
Can it be better?
Yeah.
You know, it's been good meeting Dunk and them with SDG suspension and you know, those guys. And Brett King has been so good to me. It's been incredible. He's been fantastic with our program in Australia and here with the Can-Ams, and now he's helping us heaps. BFG's been a big part of us. We were actually a distributor for BFG in Australia. I gave that up, and then Dan took that over, my prep guy. I was too busy with work. So we've been lucky to make some very good, strong relationships with companies here. And if we can get our car to be better, and I can get help from someone like him to be in with me, and that's what I wanted Toby to do, is just tell me your car's shit, you know, your car's good, do this to it, you know, and that would help me out heaps.
Well, and Ricky's particularly had experience with the four-wheel drive platform.
Yes.
You know, I've actually ridden with him in the Mason truck, and so I think he's the guy.
Yes.
And he loves doing that, man.
Yeah.
He's done it for a lot of different teams, a lot of different racers, and you know, I think, you know, in his age now, you know, he really likes, you know, giving people that knowledge and sharing, you know, his love for off-road racing with them.
I just got to watch, like, not treading on people's toes. Like, I know when long races like this come in, they've got that person they call on to do half a race. So
Sure.
I'm trying to work out, like, it was good with the UTVs. We knew who was driving with who.
Yeah.
And so you didn't go and ask them to drive with you at Baja or whatever, because they'd already have a drive. But,
Sure.
So to go into the TT class now, I've just got to see who's doing what and who's with who. I don't want to tread on people's toes. So it was good to talk to him today in the pits and at Tech and say, well, yeah. And he goes, man, I'll help you out.
Yeah. There's a handful of guys out there, too, that are really fast that, you know, I always look like Ray Griffith. This is another one. I don't know that he's racing this race, but, you know, super fast, you know, driver. You know, there's a handful of them. So I'd be happy to give you the list and say, here's some guys to talk to.
Yeah.
But in terms of teaching, Ricky Johnson, 100%.
Yep.
You know, I think that, you know, there aren't a lot of guys who just have this, you know, comfort with explaining things to people.
Yep.
And can kind of like put their ego aside and go like, it's not about me. It's about me sharing information with this person. So Ricky's definitely the best at that.
Yeah, well, that's where I want to go. That's my next program. The speeds now that we're doing in these trucks, you know, 145, 150 mile an hour in these things, these are way away from what UTVs can do.
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And another thing is too, it's fair enough owning these things, but to go and damage one and get them repaired, I don't want to do that.
No.
You know, I want to keep these in good, pristine condition, and I want to have this. I want to be coming over here for years to come.
Yeah.
This is not a short program for us. This is definitely, I want to be over here for a while until the point where I probably physically cannot get in a car. I'll get a lift, and then, you know, then I want to step aside and, you know, maybe try and help someone out.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Bring someone in and drive the car.
It's really cool that you've become the bridge to Australia as well, right? So, you know, now I owe you coming there, and we'll get that sorted out for Fink.
Yeah, well, we've got 5 Aussies racing this weekend. You've got Billy Geddes racing with Robert Johnson, and then you've got Talbot Cox and Michael Marson racing. Michael just got second on the weekend in his racer engineering buggy, so he'll be hot on the form.
Yeah.
So, you know, them guys have been coming over here probably way before us, and they've known Dale Dondell for X amount of years. So I'm not the first one to come here.
Right.
But I think it's definitely helped other people, and other people have asked me, how did I go about it?
Yeah.
You know, what made me do it? How did I do it? Who did you meet? So I've helped a lot of people like that come over here, whether it just be to spectate. You know, where do you stay in Vegas?
Yeah.
Where do you go to Prim? You know, where's Apex? You know,
Right.
where do you go? All that sort of thing. So, and you can tell them now.
Yeah.
Where do you go at bloody Laughlin? You know, where's Parker? You know, where's this? Where's that? Where do you stay in Reno? So now it's just fluent English to us.
Yeah.
Because we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, no, and there's always been this thread to Australia with off-roading, because I remember, you know, 20-something years ago going to Jimco and talking to Mike Juleson, and he was all excited because he wanted to show me a right-hand drive Class 1 that they were building to send over there, and then was explaining all the differences, like, oh, it's not a V8, it's this V6 turbocharged, and you know, it's because of this race, and I'm like, I want to go check it out. Like immediately, my brain goes into like, you know, exploration / adventure, and like, sounds cool. So
look, I had offers to go to England and race UTVs. I had offers to go to Japan and race UTVs. New Zealand has got a bit of a following in the UTVs in off-road. So I think our closeness to you guys, probably Australia is one of the biggest off-road communities outside of the US, other than Dakar and all that sort of stuff, of course, different form of racing. So I think we're pretty lucky that we're sort of nearly next door to you.
Yeah.
You know, meeting Robbie Pierce, he helped Dan and I out heaps when I bought Shannon Wrench's Pro Buggy with a V6.
Yeah.
So I virtually went from a 200 horsepower UTV to a 1,000 horsepower car weighing 1,500 kilos.
Yeah, that thing is wicked.
And this thing was wheel standing on me, and we just gone out and just adrenaline, and our veins are popping out of our arms, and just going, holy shit, what did we just go and buy? You know, it was just nuts. And we've just gone to a racetrack, and you know, we're doing 215 kilometres an hour down straights, and just it blew us away.
Yeah.
This is next level.
Yeah.
But what I find with those cars is if you're not driving them at full potential, they will beat you up.
Yeah.
They don't have the forgiveness of a truck.
No.
And then when I found day 2, when it got rough, the trucks would catch you up.
Yes.
And ultimately then the influence from Toby Price and me living next to Toby, it was, why did you buy a buggy?
Yeah.
Why don't you buy a truck?
Yeah.
So he was in my ear, and eventually I bought his ex-truck. Got out of the buggies, and that's led me to where I am now. So I've been lucky. I've won some good races in Australia and won the championship in the class first year we entered. So it's been good.
Nice.
I've had a really good last couple of years. Although COVID stopped me from coming over here.
It ruined all of us.
Yeah, and I had to make do with what I had.
Yeah.
And I've done some more seat time, and now I'm looking forward to what we're about to do. So definitely.
Awesome. Well, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time. Have a blast out there.
Yeah, what you guys have done for the sport and me, and making me welcome all the time when I've come over here, I much appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And hey, I'm coming to Australia.
You better. You better.
Right,
there is life outside of the USA, you know.
I know there is. There is, right?
There is, yes.
Thanks,
Definitely.
brother.
Thank you.